White mottled sawyer is a coniferous pest causing great damage in areas of industrial woodcutting. White mottled sawyer, Monochamus urussovi, damages spruce, fir, larch, and pine. The beetle can pass the stage of additional feeding on the birch as well as on maple, elm, linden, and aspen. Monochamus urussovi is included in the second common list of quarantine objects in the Eurasian Economic Union and in the first list of quarantine objects of Kazakhstan. According to EPPO Global Database, Monochamus urussovi is present in Europe only in the north, in Sweden, Finland, and Norway. It's been reported in Poland. The beetles live in Asian countries, China, Korea, Japan. However, its biggest area is in Russia. The beetle is spread in Siberia, in the Altai, Far East. In the European part of Russia, the species is present in the northern part of the forest zone, but its population is small in the southern part. Speaking of forest pests, Siberian natural species are Siberian silk moth, Asian gypsy moth, and sawyer species of the genus Monochamus. In the territory of Krasnoyarsk Krai, as in all Siberia, there are 5 species of sawyers. They are all technical pests damaging wood and forest products. However, they are included in the quarantine list because they are potential vectors of pinewood nematode. Monochamus urussovi lives in coniferous and mixed forests. Adult white mottled sawyers fly within 5 kilometers in search of host plants. New outbreaks are formed near the existing ones. In international trade, trunk pests go to the country with wood packaging and fastening materials. Initially, the beetle breeds in plantations that have already been damaged by Siberian silk moth or other pests. When the sawyer population becomes high, the beetles move to nearby healthy forest areas. There, they gnaw most branches, cause canopy withering, and weaken trees. Sawyers of the genus Monochamus actively lay eggs on cut trunks and remains of cutting, and the main damage is caused by the newly hatched larvae. During the first year, the larvae feed under the bark, making galleries in the sapwood. Then it burrows into the wood and starts feeding on it. Sometimes it leaves the bark, feeds, making feeding areas. They are easy to see by the frass. When inspecting forest products, such places are clearly visible. Sawyer larva galleries can reach up to 50 centimeters in length. Large boreholes often pass through the wood. Here, in windless weather, one can even hear how the larvae rustle. They have a sound like cuts. On wood with bark, one can find adult beetles and their flying holes with a diameter up to 12 millimeters. Logs are sometimes completely covered with such holes. Wow, this is a male Monochamus urussovi. With the high pest population, wood is not suitable for use. The damage caused by the sawyer is magnified by the fact that the beetles are vectors of the fungi Ceratocystis spores, which causes blue rot. Such products are not subject to certification and are prohibited for export. But most importantly, the white mottled sawyers are main vectors of the pinewood nematode Bursophalanchus xylophilus. This is the most harmful, highly pathogenic nematode for many coniferous species, causing massive death of trees. Bursophalanchus xylophilus belongs to quarantine species absent in the Russian Federation. Adult Monochamus urussovi is 25 to 35 millimeters long. Body dark olive brown or almost black, shiny, elytra with clear transverse depression in the first third at the base with dense coarse-grained puncturing. There are short whitish hairs on the spots. The male elytra are markedly narrow towards the end. The female has a wider and more flat elytra with whitish or yellowish spots with hairs. The antenna of the male is 2.5 and the female is 1.5 times longer than the body. Pronotum rough, wrinkly, punctured with whitish hairs, sometimes spots. Scutellum densely covered with yellow hairs without longitudinal ridge. Male can be easily distinguished by long anterior legs. During mating, they hold the female, and the males have no spots over the elytra that are characteristic of females. Monochamus urussovi is easy to distinguish by a white coating. It is seen well. Here is a white coating. In Siberia, we have the largest species of the representatives of the genus Monochamus, and its larvae are larger than those of all other species. Adult larvae of Monochamus can be up to 40 millimeters long, some specimens 60 millimeters long, body oblong, straight, cylindrical, with translucent whitish covers, shield of pronotum in white uneven spots with numerous short setae forming a transverse row. Here it is. This is the larva of Monochamus sawyer. According to the signs, it is most likely that they are larvae of Monochamus urussovi, Monochamus sartor. The head capsule of the larva is sclerotized, usually has a dark-colored anterior margin, is directed forward or slightly obliquely downward, often drawn into massive prothorax. Young larvae, emerging from eggs, first make galleries under the bark, then go into the wood. We remove the bark where we see the damage. We can see frass. These are the products of life, which the larva throws out through a special hole. You can see larval galleries or exit holes. By the life cycle of development, white mottled sawyer is similar to other pests in the Siberian forests. Monochamus suitor. However, there are also differences. The area under the bark is much larger. The galleries are taken further into the wood by 8 centimeters or more. The length of the vertical part of the galleries reaches 14 centimeters. The total length of the entire gallery is up to 36 centimeters. Here is a larval gallery. You can see the penetration of forceps. In a straight line, it is 5 centimeters. Larvae develop for 2 years. Under unfavorable conditions, development drags on for another year. When the larvae feeds and the moment of pupation is already approaching, it gnaws through the gallery, closer to the outer layers of the wood. There, it makes a pupal cradle, and when imago emerges from the pupa, it gnaws the remains of the wood and goes outside. After exiting, young beetles gnaw on the needles and bark, and on young shoots within 2 weeks. I wanted to show the difference between larval galleries from exit holes of adults. The exit hole through which the imago emerges is round in shape, and the shape of the beetle's body, if viewed from the front, is round. A larval gallery is in the form of the body of the larva itself. That is, it has an oval, oblong appearance. In this case, unlike other sawyers, the edges of the hole itself are more rounded and do not have the shape of an ellipse, more rounded, not tapering to the edges. Beginning to lay eggs, females gnaw on the bark incisions in the form of funnels and cracks. The imago runs from May to August, and in the southern parts of the range until September. Surveying forest and timber in storage areas, the specialists of All Russian Plant Quarantine Center pay special attention to the trunks of host plants for sawyers. They look for exit holes in trunks and logs, broken young shoots, characteristic sawdust near trees. To detect black sawyers, pheromone traps produced by FGBU Vnikr are used. Methodological recommendations on detection and identification of Monochamus sawyers were developed by Forest Quarantine Department of All Russian Plant Quarantine Center. The insect is identified to species level by morphological characters of adults and larvae. When detecting outbreaks of white mottled sawyer, territorial departments of the Rosselschoznadzor establish a quarantine phytosanitary area and regime within the boundaries of the forest area, and also control the buffer zone in a radius of at least 5 kilometers. They prohibit export outside the quarantine area. In the forest, sanitary cleaning is carried out from windbreaks, dead wood, burnt, abandoned cutting areas, warehouses of unconventional forest products. Phytosanitary requirements are imposed in the production, harvesting, transportation, and storage of wood materials. The forest is discarded, it is destroyed, or fumigated, or burned, or undergoes sawing, or is used for firewood. With mass reproduction of sawyers in the forest, the trapped trees are laid on the stumps. Before pupation of larvae or their gnawing into sapwood, the bark of trees is removed and burned, or buried in the ground to a depth of up to a half a meter. Trapped trees are also used to determine the increase in number of pests. Conducting chemical treatments against Monochamus urussovi is possible, but it often is economically and environmentally unreasonable, since sawyer does not colonize on healthy and tolerant trees, although such a measure of control can slow down its further mass spread.